those Royal Observer Corps lookouts would have reported to a secret regional headquarters, which itself would be hidden away, such as this one at Kelton Hatch in Essex. Massive bunkers built with high security cover and unobtrusive entrances that looked just like bungalows. But they were in reality guardhouses which stood sentry over a passage which led to a base where hundreds of staff, both military and civilian, would keep Britain running in the time of a nuclear war. The scale of these establishments is mind-boggling. Each is equipped with a war room, stations for an army of civil servants, a BBC radio studio so that the public outside could be kept appraised as to what was happening, a telephone exchange, a hospital, dormitories, private sleeping quarters for senior members of staff. And aware that all provisions would be in short supply, the government made sure that everything had a purpose. They even had a supply of labels printed to attach to the dead or wounded to make identification easier.
In the early 1950s, there was certainly a bunker mentality. The threat from the Soviets was very, very real, so everybody had bunkers. Britain was divided into regions, and each region had what was called a regional war room, which would be controlled by a regional commissioner. So each region could be run separately if central government had been taken out of action and there was no way of getting in contact with central government or with other regions. So London actually had 4 war rooms. There was one in southwest, northwest, northeast, southeast, but most of the other areas, for example, Nottingham, Tunbridge Wells, Birmingham, Manchester, all those areas had regional war rooms.
Kelton Hatch was originally built as an RAF bunker, but as the nuclear threat intensified, it was redesigned and redeployed to become the northeastern regional headquarters for London. One of its most important functions was the ability to keep in contact with both central government and the host of smaller bunkers that would be feeding them information on bomb drops and fallout patterns. With that in mind, the bunker was equipped with a telephone exchange that was wired into a secret phone network running all over the country.
Fallout warning message, Maidstone, blank, 51, 52, 53, 55, 56. Message ends.
The most important thing about any emergency bunker of this type, any civil defence, the important thing is communications. Government can't control a country if it can't communicate. Throughout the Second World War and in earlier years, telephone lines tended to go from city centre to city centre. And of course city centres are the bits that are most vulnerable to bombing, and the big cities in particular, like Birmingham and Manchester and London, are particularly vulnerable to bombing. So at the end of the Second World War and in the years after, the GPO, the General Post Office, predecessors to British Telecom, they started to lay new trunk lines, and they laid trunk lines that were routed around the big cities. And they built deep underground emergency telephone exchanges below all the major cities as well. Like Birmingham has got an underground telephone exchange called Anchor. Manchester's got a deep underground telephone exchange called Guardian. There's the deep underground Kingsway exchange in London.
As well as a secure phone system, Kelton's other link with the outside world was via an air filtration plant that strained and filtered out any radioactive contamination from the air. All the larger nuclear bunkers had similar systems installed. Kelton was further protected by the fact it was located over 150 feet underground, which meant staff had a long trek to get in or get out.